extraordinary meeting and the final meeting before deployment. That is what we want to, inform you about, and that as soon as our heads of state and government are satisfied with the report that has been presented, our troops across the region are ready, and they are ready to call, respond to the call of duty of the region. We are not against the Republic of Niger. We have said, just as the chief of the committee, the chair of the Committee of Chiefs of Defense Staff has just said, that all the options are on the table. And as we speak, we are still readying mediation mission into the country. So we've not shut any door. We've not shut any door at all. The sanctions are also on the table, and if they respond favorably, to the request by the authority of heads of state for dialogue, we are ready to accept. All we are saying is that we are not going to engage in endless dialogue. It must be fruitful, and its objective must be the restoration of constitutional order in the shortest possible time We are also calling for the release of the legitimate president of the Republic of Niger, His Excellency Mohamed Bazoum, and his family, and members of his government who are being held hostage, by the regime in Niger. This is our message, to them, that our doors are open, but we are not going to engage in endless dialogue. That is why we say all options are on the table. If they want to take the peaceful pathway to very early restoration of constitutional order in the country, then we can stand down the military option, because it is not our preferred option. But we are being obliged to do it because of the intransigence and the obstacles, intransigence of the regime and the obstacles they've been putting in the way of a negotiated settlement to the restoration of constitutional order. This is our message, and I don't think you are going to ask me a question about when we are deploying. I cannot even answer that. That is left to the chair of the Committee of Chiefs of Defense Staff and the colleagues who have that. It is an operational tool, that we don't disclose it. So we hope you are not going to ask that question. All I can tell you is that we are ready, equipment-wise, the political will of the countries involved, all of them around this table, and the resources required, our own resources. And I would want finally to tell you that Ecowas is doing this in defense of its principles. Those who are misinforming the public that Ecowas is being teleguided or being directed by this power or that power, they are missing the point completely. And that all our interventions in the past, no external power urged us to do it. We did it ourselves, and this is no different. So we are doing it for ourselves, by ourselves, and for posterity. In the Ecowas sub-region, we want to get back to constitutional normalcy. And the decision is that the coup in Niger is one coup too many, for the region, and we are putting a stop to it at this time. We are drawing the line in the sand, and that is it. I thank you very much for your attention.
Now, question and answer. All to be directed to the commissioner. Okay, who's first?
Thank you. In this era of global economic crisis, how does ECOWAS intend to fund the military operation, and have you considered the humanitarian crisis if the intervention is protracted? Thank you.
No, thank you. You see, it is because of the current global crisis that we feel that the junta should not have taken the action that they have taken. The people of Niger are already suffering under the double threats of terrorism and also the global downturn in the economies of almost all countries. So in the first place, they should have not done that in order to attract Ecowas sanctions to add to the suffering of the people, which was not the intention of the Ecowas authority, but actually as to have the leverage to get them to do the right thing. If you tell me about the challenges in the country, we cannot talk about economic integration, development, providing livelihood for our populations without ensuring a peaceful environment. And what they have done in Niger is not providing a peaceful environment. So we need to sacrifice somehow in order to move. So the global downturn in the economy should not be an excuse for ECOWAS to be silent, when we know that what is happening in Niger could have even more devastating consequences on the economies of our countries. On the humanitarian question, right from the very first planning meeting, one of the things we took into account was the potential humanitarian consequences of any intervention. And we have, taken measures to make sure, that it does not become, unbearable in the region. We know that there are about 700,000 refugees, Nigerian refugees in Niger, from other countries, like Chad and then other places. Okay, we are not going into Niger, if it comes to that, to wage a war. We are going there to restore constitutional order. Whether you are going to make the humanitarian situation worse depends upon the reaction of the regime. If they really care about their populations, then I think they have to, have the presence of mind to make sure that they return to ECOWAS protocols. That is the minimum that we are requiring. But if the worst come to the worst, and there is humanitarian consequences to what we are going to do, our planning, our planning has taken into account all that. And, we've got a partner who are already working in the region on the humanitarian front, whether it is in Burkina Faso, whether it is in Mali, whether it is in Niger and other places. And the thing is that we are going to add to all that, to what we are doing. Let me just tell you one thing. Until this coup occurred, ECOWAS was on the cusp of activating the ECOWAS standby force in its kinetic mode, to help these member states in the fight against terrorism. We were going to set up a counter-terrorism force. The budget had been agreed. It was just the activation that we were waiting for. And then we had this big distraction. You see, so that is the problem that this coup has added to the intentions of ECOWAS. We were going in because we've seen that terrorism defines our conflict environment in West Africa today, and in particular in the the Litako Gourma triangle, made up of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. And we were already working to go and then make sure that ECOWAS raises a force to help them fight terrorism, and then they now organize a terrorist attack against their own president in the country. This is where we are. So nothing is going to deter us. I don't think we should use the global economic downturn and other to be an excuse to do nothing. We are ready to act. And I think that is the message we want to pass across.
Thank you, Ambassador Musa. We will have the next and final question.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner. Given that some member states already have security issues, do we have capacity to ensure that we get the number of security personnel we need for this all-important exercise? Thank you.
I didn't get that. What is it? Can you say that again? Can you repeat it? Because I didn't get the full question.
Does ECOWAS have capacity, given that many of its military member states are already dealing with internal security in their countries?
Yes. What we are going to do in, Niger is part of helping the member states to deal with the security situations in their countries, right? When you are talking about this security situation, probably the first that comes to mind is that of terrorism. Okay, terrorism in Burkina Faso, terrorism in Mali, terrorism in Niger, and a few other, places. The region is also plagued by intercommunal tensions and violence, which are also caused by many other factors, even climate change as part of them, and instrumentalization of identity by many of these nefarious forces like the two Al-Qaeda, terrorist Islamic jihadist franchises, whether you're talking about Islamic State franchise or the Al-Qaeda franchise in the region, which have added an impetus to that. So what we are doing, is to free the military to concentrate on their primary responsibility in Niger, and that is making sure they fight terrorism, which defines the security landscape in Niger today. Since the coup, in fact, there has been an uptick in terrorist attacks. Just a couple of days ago, about 25 soldiers, including I think 3 officers, were killed in a terrorist attack. Niger had not experienced that for months in the country. So we see an uptick, in that. We see signs of restlessness among some of the ethnic groups in the country, the Tuaregs and then the others. So these are the, challenges that we are facing. And if we don't return the country to constitutional order and then make sure that the military in the country focuses on its primary responsibility, that is the defense of the territorial integrity of Niger, then we are adding to the insecurity. That's the logic, of it. So our going into Niger, like I said, we are not declaring war on Niger. People should be very clear about that. Many people are putting the emphasis on the military option. We have repeated time on end, that all the other options are there. And like I said, tomorrow, there is the possibility of an ECOWAS mission going into Niger to continue to pursue the peaceful path, to restoration of constitutional order. So I don't think we must focus on the military aspect. We are ready to resolve it peacefully, but it takes 2 to tango. We are not going to be the ones knocking on the door when they are slamming the door on us. That is very, very clear, and we are going to make sure we don't accept that. So that option is on the table. The option of sanctions as a tool of pressure is also on the table. And then if all fail, then we have no option but go to the final option, which is the military, intervention. And we hope that it is going to be surgical, it is going to be short-lived, and, to ensure that constitutional order is restored.
On that note, I wish to thank the chair and Ambassador Musa for doing us dinner, and also thank the press for being here with us. I will once again hand over to the chair for the concluding remarks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Commissioner. So finally, on behalf of members of the Ecowas Chief of Defense Staff, the planning team, and all other members, want to say a big thank you for all your contribution and all your support. Again, to the good people of Ghana, it's a privilege being here, and we say a very big thank you. We're warmly received, and we enjoyed our short stay. I think some of us will still come back to pay good homage to Ghana. Thank you very much, members of the